Welcome back to TV5 News at 9. It is time now for our favorite segment, Education Matters. We are here with Dr. Craig Douglas. Thank you so much for being here again today, Dr. Douglas. How are you?
Good morning, Colette. I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Dr. Douglas. Well, viewers, we just wrapped up Black History Month, where we featured some of the most influential educators in our history. Now, today we're going to be talking about the important lessons to take away from these leaders. Dr. Douglas, these educators were really trailblazers in their field. What can we learn from their courage that they showed while doing their work?
Well, I think, Colette, it's appropriate to reflect back upon the examples that I put forward. And these were tough calls for me to make because they represent a multitude of others who have stepped up in various ways to blaze trails in education. So I extracted three characteristics that I thought kind of jumped out at me, in my opinion. First, courage. Each of the leaders stepped up. They stepped up courageously when it was needed, and they faced pushback repeatedly in doing so. Recall, for example, the first African-American principal in Saginaw Public Schools, Frances Moulton Carter. We can only imagine the difficulties that she faced and she persevered through. Very courageous. I'm sure she faced doubters about her and her leadership because she was the first to step up and serve. But she served anyway. I think of Nathan Hare. He was the professor that joined the Black Power movement in the 60s, spoke out against his university's president, and got fired unceremoniously. That was at Howard University. He had courage to write the letter, to take the risk that he took. He actually put his career on the line in doing so. It turned out just fine for him. He went to San Francisco University and started the first ever minority studies program. So courage to do the right thing.
Yes, I love that. And Dr. Douglas, you know, these leaders also had to demonstrate so much resilience. Tell us how this shaped their career, their resilience.
Well, the resilience, we often call it grit today, grit for young learners. These leaders demonstrated resilience. Again, Nathan Hare got fired. He went all across the country, all the way over to San Francisco, and started his career over and actually broke new ground doing so. Another example I would cite, recall Carter Woodson. He was the gentleman that worked in the coal fields of West Virginia until he turned 20 and then entered high school and blazed through high school in just 2 years, if you recall. Modern language, we call this grit. One of my favorite sources today is Professor Angela Duckworth. She has written much about grit in her research. It's her passion and determination. I would encourage viewers to Google her and perhaps catch a TED Talk where she is featured.
I love that. Grit. We all need more grit. That is for sure, Dr. Douglas. Now, education really played such an important role in all of these trailblazers' lives. How did higher education help them become the leaders that we know today?
Well, I don't mean to be, trivia, but it opened doors, It opened doors for them because of their education. I'm not implying that everyone needs to go to college to get a PhD, but in these leaders' cases, that's exactly what happened. Carter Woodson was one that I cited. He was the second African-American to earn a PhD at Harvard. Inez Beverly Prosser was the first African-American to earn a PhD at Cincinnati. Recall locally, Bernice Barlow went to MSU and had advanced degrees, and Frances Moulton Carter went to U of M. General David Hall, who I cited, went to Howard University before he served in the armed forces. And of course, Nathan Hare went to Langston College. So the point is this: education does matter. I don't mean to trivialize that at all, but it does matter. And the more educated one becomes, the more doors seem to open up. Maya Angelou once said, "When you know better, you learn better." Well, that's a life lesson, and it applies perhaps more today than ever before. And these trailblazers provide the experiences for us, the examples for us.
I love that. That was very powerful. Now, Dr. Douglas, you know, Black History Month is over, but it really is still important to keep on learning about all of these important historical figures, often really overlooked in American history. So how would you suggest that families keep learning all year long?
Well, I would propose this, that we have Black History Month every month, and that we continue to look for examples of African Americans and other minorities as well who have blazed trails, who have faced the odds, who have shown the resilience, the grit, the courage. These examples propel and uplift all of us.
I love that. Dr. Douglas, I think the message that you've really given all of us is that if you're facing obstacles or challenges, you know what, keep your eyes on the prize, be resilient, and just keep fighting for what you want, and you can do it. Thank you for bringing us that message, Dr. Douglas.
Thank you. Great coverage this past month, and let's continue onward.
Let's do it. Even though Black History Month is over, learning is never over. We appreciate you, Dr. Douglas. Thank you.
Take care. Be well.
You as well, Dr. Douglas. For more information about today's topic, just check out the school source page at WNEM.com.